ending that one with a vamp at the end, and we all forgot. So we decided to go ahead and go back to it and just, vamp it anyway.
You guys all seemed ready to keep going.
Yeah.
You guys all seemed ready to keep going.
Well, I didn't want to throw you under the bus, but it was fun. Who are you next? Which one of those? You got Yellow Geechee, Yellow Mellow, Lotus, and Yellow Geechee and what?
And then Yellow Mellow.
Sure.
They said, oh no.
So this tune, we get the tag at the end of this one. Okay. Put that ball. So this is another tune off of Only the Horizon. This is the last tune, and this one features the great Kev Moe on guitar. No pressure. Nate Smith on drums also, and the Yelly Ensemble, a West African percussion group out of Nashville, and also some of the Gullah Geechee singers and Gullah Geechee musicians out of Charleston, actually. Quentin Baxter and kind of some of his crew, his sister, and his niece, and some of the Gullah elders sang on this. And so there's a whole kind of, there's a bunch of information on my website, jeffcoffin.com, or my record label's website, Europe Records, that has a bunch of info about the record. And there's 42 musicians on it from all over the place. And not all at the same time, of course, but I think it's a pretty wonderful record. I've spent almost 2 years putting it together. In the midst, I did other stuff and put other stuff out, but that came out a couple of months back, and we do have some of that here too. Yeah, let's try this. This is called Yelly Geechee. more tune, then open it up for some questions, some thoughts, comments. This tune, it's pretty new also. This is gonna be on the trio's next recording. Call ourselves Coffin, Perlson, Krauss, CPK for short. Did you figure out where we got that one from? But we're pretty headlong into the record at this point. We're getting a few people to do some overdubs, and it's pretty exciting. We've got a lot of really great material and some really incredible guests on the record. So that'll be out sometime next year. Again, on Europe Records. So this is called Yellow Mellow, and it's going to feature Bob and Jordan on this, I believe. Did we have any questions on this last time? We're pretty good on it, right?
I think so.
I think we should get you quiet choose bands on the coda. I remember from yesterday.
Oh, yes, the third time, right?
Yeah, like we all got real quiet at the top of the coda. We got
Oh, yeah. Okay.
It starts now.
I started.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, let's try it. Let's see what happens. Wish us luck.
Come on.
Yellow Mellow, and we get to do a couple more later, you know, we'll do that. But we'd like to open it up and talk about some things that you don't like to talk about. It could be saxophone questions, only. Anything for the bass, the guitar, the drums, anything as a collective, how we work on things, compositional ideas, how to get ready for a gig, how to get a gig, how to keep a gig, how to parallel park a band. I can tell you all about that. Yeah, I'm pretty rocking at that. Yes, sir.
You recently had to give a saxophone away, or volunteered to give a saxophone away. Can you give a little background on what that situation was and what that was like?
Are you talking about the Rock Hall of Fame?
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The group that I play with, some of you may know, is Dave Matthews Band, and I've been touring with them for 16 years. We were just inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And so they asked for something that they could put into the exhibit. And I was thinking about my goatee, but I figured it's probably not. So I had an older Yamaha. It was a purple label Yamaha, and a lot of the finish was, a lot of the lacquer was kind of worn off of it, and I had gotten it to like play on outdoor gigs, or if I was traveling somewhere, I could bring it and not really worry about. It was already kind of, you know, wasn't in great shape, but it played good, you know, had a nice tone to it. So I talked to Moji Hirokata, who is the head of repair in New York at the Yamaha Atelier, and he's done a bunch of really beautiful engraving. And we had talked about it previously. I said, hey, I want to put this one into the Hall of Fame. I had a design that I had drawn out that I sent to him. I said, I'd like this on the front of the bell, and this is what I'd like on the long side of the bell. And then I had Dave draw from the Groove Rocks King album for the outside of the bell. And then I had on the inside, like the body part of the bell, was the emblem for Balefleck and the Flectones, the Cosmic Hippo, that's on there also. And I had my family's name on there, and my wife's family's name is on there, and the initials of my first band director. Ooh. Sorry. So yeah, that's in there now. It's in the permanent exhibit, and I couldn't be happier. And you know, Yamaha's. I've been with Yamaha for many years, and that's all I play. I've got great Mark 6s at home, but I always come back to these. They're fantastic instruments, and so I'm super happy that they're represented in there also for all of their support of me. And Jordan's now a Yamaha artist also, which is fantastic. So he'll be playing saxophone soon. So we were there, and we went through the whole ceremony, and my mom got to come, and my stepsons were there. So it was a big family affair. My wife, of course, and so on and so forth. So that's great. Yeah, thanks for asking. And I'm very happy to have it in there. Yeah. Yes.
There was a question while you guys were out to dinner. Did you bring your statue?
Oh. So that's being sent. So they gave them to us that night, right? And they already had our names on them and all that. But the box was about this big, and about this wide, and about this deep. And they said, well, you know, you can take them with you if you want. And I was like, I am not lugging this thing to the airport. And you know, so no, it's being sent. And someone's asked me where I was going to put it, and I was like, I haven't even thought about it. I have no idea. But most people say, you know, there was a question while you were out to lunch, and which I've been a number of times, you know. But no, they're beautiful. They're heavy. They're about this tall, you know. And but it's beautiful. It's a lovely work of art. Yeah, I'm very happy to have it. Yeah. Come by anytime and see it.
Just to add to your comment about Yamaha, they also help support this clinic. So Yamaha does all kinds of great things to promote education in music, and in addition to making great instruments. They're very active in supporting music scene, in supporting schools, in supporting education, kids, outreach. They do all kinds of great things in the music industry.
Yeah.
So a big shout out to Yamaha too. So.
Yeah. And they're very, very active with the Jazz Education Network also, which will be happening in January again, and Mark will be down there, I think, and I'll be down there with the members of the Sax Loft. You can check out saxloft.com. It's myself and Tia Fuller and Kirk Whalen, and it's an online education platform that we've developed over the years, and we'll have a booth down there, and Mark's been giving us some tips about having a booth down there, so thank you for that. So if you're gonna be down there at the Gen Cons, we're playing Friday night on the main stage, so that should be a lot of fun. So what else? What questions might you have? Yes?
Did you audition for Dave Matthews Band?
Nope. No, the way I got that gig, I started playing with Bela Fleck in '97, and the Flecktones and DMB knew each other from before they were actually bands. So Carter and Leroy and the Wooten brothers all grew up in Virginia, and so they knew each other from the scene there. And apparently, early on, DMB opened for the Flecktones. And because they knew the band, they were like, man, you guys gotta come open for us, and so on and so forth. So shortly after I started playing with Bela, we did some dates with Matthews. And they'd invite us to come out and hang and play on a tune or two, and I got to know Leroy pretty well. And I've got some really funny old pictures of us together, just goofing, and because he had a room, like a tuning room, which we still have, and he'd have all his horns laid out, and we would just go in there and just talk shop for hours, trying mouthpieces and necks and ligatures and all that. We can clear a room in seconds. But we had a really great time together.
Cool.
And so when Roy got hurt, he had a bad ATV wreck. I was in New York at a friend's wedding, saxophonist named Dave Pietro. I was at his wedding, and I got a call. I was on my way from New York at that point to Massachusetts with my then girlfriend, my now wife, and I was going to see my grandmother and my mom and introduce Leoko to them for the first time. Right? So I get this call on the way, and it's the Flecktones manager, and he tells me what's happened with Roy. He's had a very bad wreck, and he said he's going to survive it, but they want to know if you can come out and sub for a few months until he's back in action. And I said, okay. I said, when do they need you? He said, right away. I said, what's right away? He says, the next gig's tomorrow in Charlotte. Right? I was like, oh boy, okay. I said, tell them yes, and we'll figure out the details, And I had to cancel a bunch of work, because the Flecktones were off for most of that year. And so I had stuff I was doing in Australia and different places, and so I had to cancel a bunch of stuff, So I called my stepson, and I was like, hey, what are you doing tonight? He's like, nothing. I said, can you drive to Charlotte, North Carolina? And so I told him, I talked him through where all my gear was. He loaded it up, drove it to Charlotte. I flew down early from Boston the next morning, left my wife there, with this huge Italian family, so good luck. And my wife is from Japan, so it was like a very different kind of thing. And so it was sink or swim, I knew. And so I got to Charlotte, and I told them what I needed. I said, I need staff paper, like a bunch of it, a box of pencils, a pencil sharpener, 3-ring binder, plastic sheeting, music stand, a stand light, and an eraser. Right? And so as soon as I got there, Rashawn came in and Dave came in, and as quickly as I could write out parts, Rashawn would just play me the parts. I'd write it down. It wasn't even the form of the tune; it was just the horn lines. Because the tunes are asymmetrical, like an AABA form. A lot of times it's like 16 bars, maybe 8 bars, another 16, or maybe it's 24, whatever. But these, it's all over the place. And so I would watch Rashawn, I could have the parts in front of me, and I would watch Rashawn, and he would just kind of like bring me in on the stuff. And it was seamless from the beginning, because I know how to listen, you know? I was very heightened on those gigs, because there's 15,000 people that know the music, and I'm not one of them, you know? So, you know, people say, oh man, it must have been really challenging for you. I was like, well, you know, from a gig perspective, yes, like doing the gig, like staying in that moment. But I said it must have been really hard for them, because it's a 7-piece band, suddenly one of the members is gone, right? In the hospital, and somebody slides in, like literally the next gig to do the gig. And it's like it's your dinner table, your family's at the dinner table, then there's somebody like, kind of a friend that's there instead, and like pretending like nothing's wrong, you know? So it was this kind of a surreal situation. Then a month and a half into his recovery, he passed. Shockingly, you know, nobody expected it. And it was tragic, absolutely tragic. And so this was strange. So when I got the news, I called Baylor, right? And so, you know when you call overseas, like, brr, brr, like that kind of long ringtone? And I was like, well, that's weird, you know? And he goes, ah. I think I woke him up. Hello? Hello? I was like, Baylor. He's like, he said, I'm in China. How'd you get through here? And I said, hey, now I got some bad news. And I told him. And he said, I've been here for 2 weeks. I haven't been able to receive or make a phone call.
Wow.
The entire time, right? I get goosebumps talking about it. Crazy, right? But got through first time, you know? And he said, look, he said, they're gonna ask you to stay, you know? And he says, given the situation, and he said, the way you play and what you're gonna bring to that band, he said, you have to do it, you know? Now that's a leader. I've been with Baylor for 12 years at that point. And we were and still are very dear friends. And so we went through the tour, and it wouldn't have surprised me, you know, if they had folded up shop and been like, you know what, we're done at the end of the year. I would have been like, I understand, you know. But, you know, change is inevitable in every situation. And so the group changed, and other things started happening. Eventually Buddy Strong came into the band also on keyboards, and the band continues to improve. You know, to this day it's still escalating, and we're having an absolute blast. After 33 years, this band is still getting better. You know, which is amazing.
Thanks for talking about that.
Absolutely, my pleasure. My pleasure. Yeah. Yeah. What else? What else? We'll talk about tunes or yeah.
This is kind of for everybody up there, but a lot of times when you're playing music all the time, it becomes work. And I'm curious if there's actually a song that you're excited to play when it comes up in a set list. What is your favorite song to actually play?
Well, all these songs are pretty new to me, so they're all exciting for me to play. I've played some of these before, and some of them I haven't played at all. So, first of all, I'm like, is this hard? Get the chart real quick. You know. But yeah, it's all exciting for me, and I think in general, I mean, I won't speak for everybody, but playing music is always fun. The thing that's not fun is, traveling, not being at home, being on the road all the time. But this is not the part that's work. This is the part that's fun. It's all the other 23 hours a day that work.
You mentioned something maybe you can touch upon. So, because some of this music is new to him, maybe talk about like when you're looking at a piece of music or playing it maybe for the first time, what are you thinking about? Like, what's your process to like, okay, here we go, here's a new piece, and you're scanning it through, what are you looking for? Like, what are some of the landmarks you're looking at? Maybe notational markings also, those kinds of things.
Yeah, I guess the first thing I'm looking at is to see if there's any like fast lines that I have to play. You know, like fast written out 16th note stuff or weird jumps. If I have to play a melody like that, I definitely want to like sit with that and look at it. After that, I'm kind of, you know, sort of, you know, I've looked at this music a little bit, but I mean, there's a big stack, and I don't, like, he calls the tune, and I'm like, I don't know what it is until I look at it. So let me see what it is. And then I'm like, okay, I remember this one. And so I'll look at the harmony and see if there's any really tricky chords or anything like that. And then the form, too, see if there's any markings. Okay, this jumps back to the first page, you know, take mental note of that. So it's just kind of like scanning it and making sure there's nothing that's gonna surprise me when it comes up.
And so I do all my charts in Sibelius, which is a notation software program. So everything is legible, whether it's correct or not is another story, but at least it's legible if it's wrong, you know? And so we try to go through it and talk it through and make sure that whatever changes are done, that we're all, you know, we've all got the same changes. And so it's, you know, it's an approximation of the tune, obviously, but things are mostly, I think, pretty clear on the charts. And I try to do that because I know that if Bob is coming in, we're not gonna have a whole lot of rehearsal time. You know, so I want it to be as clear as possible to give him the best chance to actually play the music. Yeah. Who else wanna jump in on any of that?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, the same thing as Bob, is that the gig is always the fun part, top to bottom. It's, you know, it's everything else that makes the whole situation work. In my cover band days, it's probably easier for me to identify the one or two songs I didn't like to play, as opposed to like the one or two songs I'm excited about. You know, I was excited about all of them, but like, I've had enough of Don't Stop Believing.
Oh, bite your tongue.
That's all. Or let me talk about that or the learning music thing or new music thing.
Anything, yeah.
One of the things I stand for when I'm looking at a brand new chart that I'm sight reading is similar to Bob, like figures that I'm going to be responsible for. But the other thing that I'm, at least as a drummer, really trying to tune into is any phrases that are odd lengths that might not be super clearly odd lengths on the chart, just visually. And if I can find where there might be a 7-bar phrase or a 9-bar phrase or something like that, and like just make a note of it, I know that I'll have an easier time, hopefully giving everyone else an easier time, helping make it an easier time for everybody else if I can set up phrases more clearly. And if I know they're coming and they're odd lengths, that'll make my job easier, which will hopefully make their jobs easier.
Yeah, I think I look for any trick not to fumble, if at all possible. You know, always hearing stuff ahead of time. You don't always have the luxury of that, but you know, I'm not the reader that both of these guys or Jeff are, you know, but I can, you know, when I look at shapes and I go, okay, it's that, and if something looks intimidating, usually most of the time it isn't. It's just after kind of hearing it one time and then kind of, okay, this legs here, and especially with the basis for a guitar player that's written it, it's usually easier than you think it is. You know, but yeah, exact same thing, but just trying to, if you know, if there's a chart that's written that has 6 bars on one line and, you know, 9 bars on another line, I'm usually denoting some kind of double line or just a thicker bar line. So this is the phrase length. And I still like having chord symbols on every bar, just so I go, okay, I'm always looking at that, you know.
Yeah, you know where you are before.
Yeah. Just as opposed to.
I'm the same way.
Yeah.
And I try to do, sometimes I forget to do it, but I'm the same way. But yeah, I mean, I think for me, all the things that they said, and, but this is the thing that I know also, is that I'm gonna make a mistake. You know, probably a couple. But my goal is to not make the same mistake twice, right, as I'm going through it. And again, looking for problem areas. And when I write up the charts, I try to do double bars to denote phrase lengths, and if something is 9 bars rather than 8, sometimes I'll put a little addendum underneath the bar that says like 9-bar phrase or something. So I'm trying to think about what somebody else might think about as they're looking at the chart, and what might help them as they're looking through the chart. And so I try to put that stuff on there, to again, try to make it as clear as possible. Yeah.
So, Lester Young did sight reading, didn't he? But he learned all the words to songs for Billie Holiday and stuff like that to play. Do you ever do that, take that kind of approach to anything with Dave Matthews?
Yeah, I do actually. There are certain things that I play that are harmonies to what Dave is singing. And so I think about what words he's singing, and I'm trying to play those words in the harmony. But I'm trying to articulate them and phrase them in a way that a vocalist would do that. And so I'm very influenced by vocalists, from Billie Holiday and Louis Armstrong on up. And also pop vocalists and you know, all sorts of vocalists from different cultures around the world also. You know, I remember Miles Davis used to talk about the phrasing of Frank Sinatra. Like they'd ask him in interviews, and so I thought, okay, well, there's something to that, because I love the way that Miles phrased it. So I listened to Frank Sinatra a lot. Nat Cole also was another one. And so I would learn words to standards, and I would try to imitate those words. And when you hear, you know, Coltrane or Lester Young, Ben Webster, Coleman Hawkins, Dexter Gordon's a great example of that. There's a tune, what's the record? It's either Go or Paris Calling. It's the one, he's on a bicycle on the front of it. And there's a tune called Who Can I Turn To When Nobody Needs Me? Right? And the first phrase, right? There's the lyric right there. And you hear that in what he plays. Thelonious Monk's Ruby, My Dear. Ruby, my dear, Ruby, my dear. It's repeated over and over and over in that tune. So there's a lot of examples of that kind of thing. And so yeah, I definitely think about that. And the ending of certain notes, sometimes also I'll try to do the vibrato of a vocalist. I'm a big fan of Ricky Lee Jones also, and the way that she phrases it. She would do kind of a similar thing that Miles would do, is she would be singing a note, and the timbre of the note would change while she was singing it. So she was doing something to manipulate the oral cavity or the throat as she was singing that note, that would shift the timbre of the note ever so slightly. And Miles would do that sometimes too, and so I try to emulate that sometimes. So yes, I do all that. Yeah, it's a good question. I don't think I've been asked that before. Yeah. What else? Yeah.
So, what's your favorite Dave Matthews Band song to play?
That's a good question. You know, I don't have a favorite one, because when I learned them all at the same time. I learned about 200 tunes in a month, and which was a lot, you know. And so I don't really have a favorite one, strangely enough. I like Madman's Eyes a lot, which is a new one. And one of the reasons I like that tune a lot is that on the beginning of it, I had just gotten, like a month and a half before we were in the studio, this was during COVID also, so there was lockdown, but I had bought a Hungarian instrument called the Terragato, which is like a soprano. It's conical bore, like an ice cream cone, right? But it's made out of wood. It's very light. And so when we got to the studio, when Roshana and I got to the studio, Dave said, "Oh, there's this thing, and it kind of needs this, almost kind of this Middle Eastern kind of vibe. And I've tried a bunch of stuff, and nothing's working." And I said, I've got just the right? And as soon as I played like 2 notes on, he was like, oh God, yes, that's it, that's the sound. And so that's the first thing that you hear on the record, is the sound of that terregato on that is like a little kind of vampy thing, and then the terregato comes in off of that. And so that's all the way through that 2 notes. And I bought it from a great saxophonist named Charles Lloyd, and who is really a hero of mine. So I was very pleased to have that instrument. And so I like that tune a lot. Do you have a favorite one?
I like Ants Marching.
That's a pretty good tune, right? Yeah, that's a fun tune. We did that at the Hall of Fame, actually. And I played Leroy Moore's soprano on that too, on the Hall of Fame show, in tribute to him. Yeah. What else? Yeah.
But you write a lot of pieces that are almost orchestral, on the arrangements, and lines and stuff. Do you write with software, or do you just use pencil and paper, or how do you get that out of your, on some other format?
It varies. My compositional process is a little bit all over the place. Sometimes I'll come up with a bass line that I like. Sometimes I'll go from a groove first, like use a sample and loop it in Pro Tools, and then start improvising to it, come up with a melody or a set of chord changes, or again a bass line maybe. And so I start to craft it from there. So in Pro Tools, and sometimes I'm just writing it on a piece of paper. That's most of the time. But sometimes when I set it up in Pro Tools, when I'm ready to kind of dig in that respect, I will do it to a grid, meaning that it's to a click, so I can move things around. So if I'm like, okay, I like this section, but I want it over here, I can move it and it's still in time, right? And so to have a demo that I can then send to these guys, or to whoever, makes it a lot easier. I've got it in tempo, I've got the form established, I've worked out a lot of my parts. So it really varies. You know, I've sang stuff into my phone, I've written stuff on a napkin, made little voice memos with the horn, so on and so forth, stuff at the piano. So it really varies. But I'm composing all the time. And thank you for saying that it feels orchestral to you. I appreciate it. Yeah, thanks. What else? All right, maybe
You gonna tour when your album's done?
Which album?
The one that you were talking about earlier?
Oh, this one, yeah, probably, yeah, if we're all available,
Yeah.
yeah, it would be great, it'd be great. I'm not exactly sure when next year is coming out. I have 5 albums that have to come out next year. And this is gonna be one of them. I've got another group that I've worked with for a number of years called Band of Other Brothers, which is Will Lee on bass, Keith Carlock on drums, Nir Felder on guitar, and Jeff Babko on keys. And so Babko and I co-lead the band. We had done a trio record a few years back with the great drummer Vinny Colaiuta. And so we're like, man, we gotta do some more stuff. And so we put this Band of Other Brothers together. We have 2 records out, and there's there's a holiday record coming out on November 15th, which is, what, 2 weeks it's coming out, 2 or 3 weeks. And it's fantastic, it's really great, really great. So keep an eye and an ear open for that. But yeah, the plan is definitely to tour the music when we can. And when we're able to get out and do 4 or 5 days like this, we're gonna be at the Jazz Kitchen tomorrow night. And we'll do some recording in Indy with a good friend of ours, and then a quick show in Nashville on Sunday. And so it's you know, it's a small slice, because when I go out, like I've got to make up lessons from Vanderbilt also, which then throws me behind in other things. So it's at a certain point, it's diminishing returns,
Yeah.
you know, for my own personal time, which is at a premium at this point. And so I have to be careful about how much I'm out, other than the Dave stuff, because even those lessons I have to make up, of course. So yeah, it's a challenge. Spinning plates. You know, oh, they're
Come to
not-
Jazz St. Louis, please.
But yeah, well, we'd love to. We'd love to. I know Emmanuel Wilkins is there tonight, and he's one of my very favorite of the new breed of players. And I wish I could check it out, but, I'm very happy to be here. And I'll hear him sometime.
We're the Fox.
What was that?
We're the Fox.
Or the Fox, yeah. There's a few places. I played Jazz St. Louis a few years back, and we sold it out for a couple of nights, and so, yeah, we definitely need to go back and do it again. Let's play another tune. Any more questions before we play another tune? Yeah.
Is there any like I guess obscure instruments that you would like the world to know about more?
An obscure instrument?
Yeah. Like
Well, the Terregato is a bit obscure,
yeah.
and it's a Hungarian instrument, handmade by a guy named Josef Toth, T-O-T-H. And it kind of sounds like a cross between an English horn and a soprano and a clarinet. Yeah, it's very interesting sound.
Anytime you're ready to tackle that Rothaphone, let me know.
Yeah, these Rothaphones. You know, it's like if Tim Burton made a saxophone, this is what it would look like. It's the craziest. Do you have any here?
Yeah, I got one. I'll bring it
Man, you gotta bring one down. This thing is insane. And it's a double reed instrument, like a bassoon or an oboe. And he showed me a picture of it one time, and I was like, that's not real. And he found it like in some barn somewhere or something. This guy had a bunch of them. And I mean, whoever has weird stuff, they call Mark. And so he's kind of known kind of around the world for these horns that he has upstairs. He's also got the National Saxophone Museum. And so this is all part of this collection. And you won't believe this thing.
Since you got a tenor up there, this is the tenor Rothaphone.
Right, tell me that's not a Tim Burton instrument. Wow.
That's the shrunken head guy in Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Is that the most insane thing you've ever seen?
It's so incredible.
It's one-piece body too, right?
Yep. They sound great. They really are.
Oh, man, I can't
Once we
wait.
get it padded
Does
up,
that have
it'll be
a
better.
Oh, man.
or a mouthpiece?
Didn't you say it used a reed like somewhere between the size of an oboe and bassoon reed, Mark?
Yeah, it's
It's
almost
a
more of
double
an-
reed, yeah.
An oboe would be a more reed.
Oh, okay. You haven't made one yet, huh?
No, but there's a guy, Mark Ortwine, who's a fantastic bassoonist who can.
Yeah,
It's
in
gonna make you one,
Indianapolis.
Yeah.
make you a reed?
He's coming out tomorrow night, actually.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, my
That's
God.
it. I will, for sure. Who makes it?
It's a company in Italy.
Okay.
It dates to 1898.
Come on. Amazing. Amazing.
It's definitely a reedy, like a English hornish kind of.
Double reedy sound,
double
yeah.
reedy
Yeah.
sound, yeah. Kind of has that Middle Eastern quality
What do
to
you
it.
want to do? What?
There are some other
Sure.
weird things up there.
What do you want to do? Maybe do the melody, just the melody on from the release. Like do the bass and then like the melody one time.
I got one hard tape in here.
I don't remember how we do this. So we do the first thing, this is the first thing, then we do the second one, right? That's what I'm doing. And then, let's do a little short solo, then we come back in. We do the first thing, and then take the coda the second time, is that right?
I think that's right.
Okay.
Here.
Try that.
And this is just you.
Just a trio, yeah. So this is a tune that, when I wrote it, it's just the melody. There's no chord changes to this. It's just a melody, and I love the melody. And this is a tune that we recorded on the next trio record. And it might be my favorite thing on the entire record. So Vic will play the melody first, I'll join him the second time. And for now, we'll just play like just a brief little solo section, and then come back into the melody. But on the recording, it's kind of this group solo, and it just turned out so beautifully. This is called From the Lotus Comes the Light. All right, well, if there's no more questions, we're gonna finish up with one last tune.
So when Dave is going out on the road, do you all get together and practice and have a regular schedule? Like,
Nope, not usually. At the beginning of the year, we usually get together for a couple of days, but we have a little rehearsal room on the road. So when we feel like going in there and doing something as a band, we can do it. And which happens fairly often, you know. I think that's one of the reasons the band keeps improving, because we actually practice, you know, and we practice together. So there's a lot to be said for that. You know, but there's no particular schedule or routine for that necessarily. It's usually a lot of stories being told anyway, you know, and hanging out, having fun.
yeah. You hear also, I mean, I've seen little clips like where some bands actually get together for a half hour, 45 minutes before they are going on stage and hash through stuff or anything. Do you all do anything like that?
We're all in the dressing room about 45 minutes before the gig.
Yeah.
Yeah, hanging out, just kind of getting in gig mode, getting focused. People are, I mean, our whole afternoon, from the time we arrive, is all about the gig.
Yeah.
You know, so we get there at 3, the gig's at 8 or 7:30. All that time is spent getting ready to do that. You know, we don't just show up and go, oh, here we go, let's play. Yeah, it's not like that. Yeah, it's very serious musicians playing very serious music, having very serious fun. Yeah. And, but it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And recovery time takes longer and longer. I can tell you that. Yeah. And a lot of times I'll come off the road, I'll get home on a Sunday, and I'll be teaching at 10 a.m. the next morning. You know, and I'm like, oh, here we go, okay. You know, but I love teaching so much, it's like, it's a sacrifice I'm willing to give to them. And they better be practicing, I tell you. All right, we're gonna end with a Viktor Krauss tune. And that's a tune called Here to Be Me. And this is on our first record as well. And it's a lovely tune. I'm gonna let Vic tell you a little bit about it, because I love the way he describes it.
Yeah.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Viktor Krauss. He loves the spotlight, by the way.
Yeah, I love the spotlight. As Jeff said, it's a beautiful song, based upon the backstory is that it's, the title is taken from season 2 of MTV's The Real World, where Puck, the bicycle messenger, is being kicked out of his house. So I don't know if you've seen the show. This was like in 93 or something like that. So he's this kind of militia guy, and he says, as he's defending himself, he's saying, "I'm here to be me, and I'm not going to change because I like it." So I wrote this beautiful song about Puck.
AAABA. Let you know also, we do have some merch over here if anyone's interested. Everything's $20. There's a Venmo and a PayPal. We do take cash also if you'd like. There's some signed posters of some artwork of mine that I designed. And we've all signed those. And there's a couple of books of mine. Victor's got a CD. We've got the Trio CD. And I've got my latest, Only the Horizon. I've got my Grammy-nominated CD also, Between Dreaming and Joy. And I've also got Sometimes Springtime, which is a very kind of quiet thing with me on Wurlitzer and woodwinds and different things. So if you're so inclined, check it out. And we're happy to say hello after we're done here. So once again, Bob Lanzetti. It's the world to us to have you here, and just love Saxquest. So I'm just going to stay here. I'm moving in. I'm going to play the Rotherphone all night. Okay, here we go.